Hi everybody and welcome to the dabbledoo podcast. Every month we will be talking about different themes and giving teachers different tips to use in the classroom. We hope you enjoy the show. Hello everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Jo from Dabbledoo Drama.
I'm Máirín from Dabbledoo Art.
And we're here today to talk about Earth Day, which is coming up in April 22nd.
22nd,
yeah. Which this year the theme is Our Power, Our Planet. What do you think about that, Máirín, that the theme for this year?
That.
Yeah.
I like that, yeah. Because it's putting a bit more of a positive spin on climate awareness. You know, it's kind of putting it back into our hands that it is, you know, we have the power to enact positive change.
Exactly. Yeah. And it does. I think that's a really important thing to think about when you're thinking about climate change is what can we do, you know, because it can get really, really overwhelming when we're thinking about like the world and all of the things. But actually, if we just bring it back to ourselves, the power that we have to change, and even if it's just one little thing every single day, one thing a week, that will then hopefully, you know, in time help to change the world.
Yeah. Especially for kids as well. Like there's a lot of scary big headlines that, you know, for young kids it might be hard to really understand. And it's kind of a nice time to say, well, there is stuff you can do to help, and you can be a positive force in all this. And I think that's really important as well, particularly like I remember being in school and hearing about climate change and just being so freaked out. I thought we were all going to be underwater by the time I was an adult, or I was just a bit too young to fully understand what they were talking about, but it did kind of scare me. But then, you know, as you kind of get old and you go, well, actually I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. There's a lot of things I can do to help the planet. And for a child, that can be incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
So
great. And there's a lot of anxiety around climate change. And it is huge, you know, when you think back, even when I was in school a few years before you, it was, nobody really knew exactly what it was, but it was really confusing, really overwhelming, and really, really frightening. Yeah. And we felt helpless at that point. Whereas now I feel like there are a lot more things that we can be doing. There's changes we can make in our own homes, in our classrooms, and then that will in turn change how all of these big companies work and do things, and then it hopefully in time make a little bit more of an impact on our climate.
Yeah. Like I think when I was in school, the big thing was the hole in the ozone layer. And I, to this day, will not spray something outside because I was 9 or 10 and hearing, oh my God, there's this big hole in the ozone layer and we have to fix the hole in the ozone layer. And I was so conscious of it from an early age. And then I think it was a couple of years ago, they're like, oh, actually, we solved that. We fixed that. And I was like, oh, if 10-year-old Máirín could hear now that the ozone layer is fine, that we managed to sort it out, she'd be delighted.
And it is that. It's like one little thing, you know, even if it just makes you feel better, you know, it's great.
Yeah. And then, you know, that's a habit I picked up X amount of years ago when I was in 4th class. And even to this day, I'm like, no, I cannot spray things outside because it's bad.
No aerosols.
You know, no aerosols.
And I suppose then just thinking back to like young people today and how can we, I suppose, give them a positive experience of the things that they can do to help the environment, to help climate change. What would you say?
I think like part of me would say to put it back in their hands as well and ask them what the solutions are, because you know, letting them know that it's our planet. It's not my planet and I'm teaching you about it. It's this is our planet, so what do you think we can do to help? And I think kids are very keen and aware these days about recycling and using less plastic, and I think something that would be really powerful for kids is actually celebrating nature and building that kind of appreciation and love for nature, so that the want to protect it becomes a bit more innate, and it's not just, well, I'm recycling because, you know, it's important and I got to do it. It's no, I'm recycling because I don't want this to end up in a landfill, because I really like you know, the ocean, and I'm really interested in the ocean, and I don't want it filled with plastic. I want all the creatures to live happily in it. And especially because I think because I was such a big animals lover as a kid, that was definitely, that definitely would have fed into it. We're being like, I can't litter in the forest. That's where all the creatures I like live. Or that's where the trees live. So I can't dirty up their home. So,
but you're right though, giving them that like love and passion for the earth, for nature, for the sea is actually, you're almost kind of going a roundabout way of like convincing them to take care of the planet a little bit more.
It's kind of building it, giving them the power to build that passion themselves. Like, I know one thing that I really liked in the last school I was in was our school garden. And I had a child who, as part of their kind of school day, would go out to the garden, and you know, we were kind of growing vegetables and things out there, and her job was to go and look after the couple of vegetables that she was growing with her support team. And on the very last day of school, she came in with this cabbage that she had grown, and she was like, look, I grew this, and now you get to eat it.
Wow.
And it was probably the biggest cabbage I had ever seen.
That's incredible, though.
I was like, that is so cool. And I think because I was genuinely so excited about like seeing this cabbage, that I've been hearing about her growing the cabbages for like months on end, and being like, oh, that's really cool, it's really great for her. I mean, like, whoa, like, you grew that. And she was so like, I'm going to try grow this next, and this and this and this. And I think that's great for kids as well.
That is so empowering for her. And to be outside, to see something from the beginning, watch it grow, like that is absolutely incredible. And then something that you could eat. It's like, you know, it's really important for children to see where the food comes from as well. You know, that it isn't just all bought in a shop, in a plastic bag, in a paper bag, whatever it even comes in. Seeing it come from the ground, picking berries, like all of those different activities that you can get out of your classroom and just do with your kids, or people, parents, families, after school clubs, you know, getting outside and even just looking around and appreciating the birds, what they're eating, looking at the insects, the bugs, looking at where they get their food from, and then seeing, actually, this is where we get our food from, you know?
Exactly. And I know, like, obviously I taught in city centre schools and I taught in schools in the suburbs, so a lot of the kids in the schools I taught in wouldn't have big plots of land or wouldn't be growing food on the regular, and for them I think it was also really exciting, because like we'd go out to the garden every so often and we'd be pointing out all the different things that are growing, and they'd be like genuinely interested. And it was like, oh, I didn't realize, you know, this fruit grew on a bush, I thought it grew in a tree like apples. And it's really nice for them to kind of see that as well. And especially, like, I remember I was in a school grounds working in an after school, and we were doing like a summer camp, and there was a blackberry bush there. So one day I was like, right, lads, let's go pick some blackberries, and we're going to wash them, we're going to eat them, and kind of teaching them how to look out for like the good blackberries. And then they'd be coming up and like, well, what about that berry there? Can I eat that? I'm like, oh, no, don't eat that one.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can eat that one, guys.
Yeah.
But they were so thrilled to be in and picking food and then washing it and eating it. And I think that for them was really kind of a nice way to learn about nature and to learn about where their food comes from.
I was out blackberry picking last autumn, and just talking about the ones that are up on the top, you know, don't go near those ones, and also the ones down low. Obviously you don't think you're going to get them because of dogs or whatever might have done their business there, but I went past this guy. I was walking along by a river, and he was like, don't get the ones down the bottom, the queer folk would be at them, meaning that like the fairies would have been like getting up to mischief with the ones down at the bottom, which I just thought was I was like stunned. I was like, oh, right, yeah. You were just walking along, and someone says something random, you're like, that is so funny. Why are you saying that to me? But also, it was fun.
I never thought about the fairies getting at the blackberries.
The fairies. I mean, I don't know what he thought, okay, or what they thought back then. Like, if you ate this berry, what would happen to you, you know? Would you have a curse? Would it be a gift? Would it be something, you know, you're going to stumble upon a crock of gold halfway down the lane, or you're gonna your leg is gonna fall off. Like, who knows what the belief is behind that?
Oh, but could you imagine being 5 or 6 years old and hearing someone go, "No, the ones on the bottom are for the fairies"? It just adds this whole other dimension.
I know. And actually, there was a fairy trail along where we were walking. So I mean, who knows? Maybe the fairies were up to no good.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, I have like a passion about like reusing clothes and shopping in vintage shops as opposed to like getting into all that fast fashion world. Obviously, I am not like 100% against fast fashion. I just think that we should try our best if we can.
Yeah.
We definitely need to go to certain shops to get certain things. But as much as we can, as much as I can, I tried to shop in vintage shops or look in like adverts or vintage or charity shops. And I suppose we went to obviously the school plays are happening a lot at different times of the year, Christmas time, summertime, but that's a time when people are like, the teachers might send home a list, they need black leggings, they need a black top, and then they go straight to the shop to buy it. Whereas it's just about having, I don't know if even a school could have, I know there's storage issues and stuff, but like having like a bag of things that are really good for like fourth class that you could use for a show. Or like, saying to parents, I know a lot of people do say it to parents, but like, just don't be going out buying stuff, ask this, your neighbour actually was in this school last year, they did the very same show, maybe you could ask them for a loan of this, that and the other, and just asking around,
Yeah, I think like I'd 100% agree, and you just reminded me that the school I worked in had at Halloween time, they used to put a clothes rail outside the main entrance, and if you had old Halloween costumes, you could hang it up there.
Brilliant.
And parents could come along with their kids and be like, "Oh, well, do you want that one?" And like every year, just the costumes that didn't fit them last year went up onto the rail.
Brilliant.
And it was absolutely brilliant. I thought it was such a great idea.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, especially just again, like not getting into that like consumer world. We have to buy something from Amazon. We have to get something new every Halloween. Like, you can just recycle something, reuse it,
make them yourself.
Exactly.
Many an old t-shirt was torn up for a zombie costume back in the day.
Black bags.
I think we weren't quite black bags, but it was just because we were dressing up. I think I dressed up as a tiger one year. Nice. But my sports club wore orange, so I just wore the sports club thing and just painted my face.
Perfect.
And I actually saw the most amazing thing. I was in Penny's the other day, just, grabbing a few little bits, and I'd seen they had this massive table set up, and they had people there teaching people how to stitch their clothing and how to do simple like mending repairs on their clothes.
That is like incredible.
That is brilliant. I'd never seen that before, and I was quite surprised to see it, like obviously in Penny's, because when we think fast fashion, we think of the cheaper things. Mm-hmm. But I think as well, like, it's a really good point to make, is that, everyone's kind of situation is different. I've had clothes I got in Penny's that I've had for 10 plus years. Mm-hmm. And just if it tears, I try and just stitch it back up. But yeah, like your charity shops, Vinted has become my new kind of weakness. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can get all sorts on it.
You can get everything. Like, if I want to get something, I'm like, okay, I look at it, I see it, I want it. I'm like, yeah, great. Okay, well, I look it up on adverts first. Vinted, Depop, I think, is kind of gone by the wayside a little bit.
Yeah, I never really used it that much, but
I got a Sweaty Betty jumper the other day for €6, and I was like, yeah, amazing, like brand new jumper. Someone just bought it and
didn't fit.
Yeah, they left it too long before they sent it back. Like, there's so much stuff on it. There is makeup that people haven't used. They've got that was the wrong colour. They took one squeeze out of it. Like, there's loads of stuff that you can get. But yeah, definitely for like, it's the statistics are crazy how much the fast fashion world is affecting the climate, and it is just, it's disheartening when you see so much of that consumerism and all the deliveries coming into people's houses, and but it is just important to just take a look around and see. We do have a lesson in our drama program. I know you've got lots in the art as well, but there's one on sustainability, and there is a vintage shop in Bray called Finders Keepers. We got our jumpers there for our Christmas podcast. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
And it's a great shop. And they have literally everything. And they've got like really some fun like candles and like, you know, it's not all just clothes, and obviously the candles are new. But the clothes are really, really funky. She's got great stuff for festivals as well, if people are going to festivals in the summer. So yeah, it's great. And she's actually just started to get kids vintage clothes as well.
Oh, amazing.
Which is great. Yeah.
I know one thing I've always tried to be aware of in dabbledoo art is making the materials as accessible as possible, because I used to hate it when I found a really good art lesson and then I'd be like, oh well, I've no idea where I'm going to get this material or this material, so I'll leave it. And one thing I always kind of encourage is, if you do have old clothes or clothes that don't fit or are torn or whatever, cut them up into scrap fabrics, and they're great for like collages and for doing like little bits of costume design, junk art. Junk art's a massive staple in primary schools now, so it does make an appearance in the program a few times. But I know, kind of circling back to this idea of loving nature, we've got a lesson in 3rd class for art where they make their own miniature garden and they get to decorate it with little like benches. Or
I love that lesson.
I went into my last class to test it out, because I did promise them when I was leaving that they were like, can we try one of your art lessons before the whole thing goes live? I was like, yeah, I'll come in, we'll do one of the lessons. And that's the one I came in with. And I had one of my sportiest lads being like, because we grew cress in the garden, and they're like, I'm gonna make mine a sports pitch. And he built like a little rugby goal and everything, and he was like, yeah, this is my like rugby pitch.
That's deadly.
So it was brilliant, because I remember that child in particular would always be like, oh, I don't know what to do for art, I'm not sure what to draw, what to draw. And like for him to go, oh yeah, deadly, I'm gonna make it like a football pitch. And it was something he was really interested in.
I love that though. I love that links that people can make, you know. You don't have to just be good at art. You can bring your own love of something and create something in art, in drama, in music that like represents what you love as well.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And even like trying to think of some of the other kind of nature themed lessons that we have. Like I know there's bug hotels, which is a very recent phenomenon for me. I wouldn't be the biggest fan of bugs. I'm trying to get better. Like I can appreciate them from afar, but if one lands on me, it's a whole different story.
My body.
But even like little bug hotels, it's another great way of again fostering this interest, not even just like a love, even if they're interested.
And curiosity, and like, what will come, like, what will they bring? You
know, if I put this material in, what kind of creatures will appear? And I think that's the best thing like teachers can kind of do, is just try and spark that interest in the planet, and not from a kind of duty bound, we all need to do this. Like we do have to do certain things to help the planet, but kind of also teaching them that, you know, we are doing these things because it's important to care for the planet, yes, but it's also, it's our home, but it's the bees' home, and it's the trees, the worms, the trees, the plants, the grass, and kind of letting the kids figure it out for themselves. You know, it's like, well, I was really interested in watching bugs, but I know if I don't plant wildflowers, for example, the bugs don't really have anywhere to rest. Or one thing I was always kind of big on that I could see the kids in kind of the younger years pick up on, is that we never ever killed a bug. If there was a bug in the classroom, we just whooshed them out. And like, I'd be the first to say, I am absolutely terrified of wasps. I cannot go near them. But 2 flew into my classroom one day, and I was like, oh no, Máirín, you're the adult now. You have to get rid of them. So the whole time I was sitting there going, oh, that's Jerry. Jerry's just coming to join our geography lesson. He's very interested.
Yeah, he wants
the
to
whole
learn
time
about.
Inside, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And then just like, well, Jerry needs to go outside now, so I'm just going to open the window from very far away.
Yeah. With the sweeping brush.
And there was one kid like, that's a wasp. I'm like, that's just Jerry, lads. So I think after that, Jerry became this character. So if they saw a wasp outside, they're like, oh, we saw Jerry at lunchtime.
That's so funny.
And I was like, I'm glad you guys aren't scared.
Yeah.
But
so for when my son was like really young, I was the same as you. I was like, I'm not mad into them, but I'm not going to be like, get out, or, you know, killing anything or anything else. Like, you know, really mindful, like, okay, we're just going to like bring this little spider out. And then like the second he went to Eki, he was like, I hate ladybirds. I was like, oh my God, I have not pretended to like bugs and put up with them for the last 3 years. So you could go to Eki and some other kid tells you that they don't like ladybirds and then you say you don't like ladybirds. I was like, we love ladybirds. They're so beautiful. And actually ladybirds are pretty beautiful.
They are,
as bugs go, And now he's like, obviously he just heard it from another kid and was like, I'll say that now because he said that. But no, we have him back on track now with the bugs.
Back on track.
And I'm like, even more than ever, I'm like, Daddy Longlegs, look at them.
I found what was great for kids was just teaching them about the bug.
Yeah.
Like quite often when I worked in like summer camps, we'd come across bees who were like just crawling on the ground because obviously they're tired. So I've on more than one occasion have a kid come up and like, we're supposed to give them sugar water. It's like, okay, let's make the sugar water. And then letting them see like, the bee drinking the water. And I have actually had children put live bees in my hand before as well. That was the one day I was like, okay, I have a tolerance.
Yeah.
But having a bumblebee dropped in my hand is not part.
This is the line. We've crossed it, kids.
And I was like, let's just put them back in the bush.
Yeah.
But I think even just teaching them about the bugs as well has been helpful because they're kind of scared of something that they don't know. And they're like, oh my God, there's a spider in the room. It's like, yeah, no, they love dark corners. And, it's summertime, so they know there's a lot of flies coming in. So they're going to come in here to catch the flies that come in. Isn't that really clever, guys? And they'd be like, yeah, that is clever. And I know it's one thing I kind of did about the wasps and the bees because that was obviously the big scary thing in the classroom if one ever got in. And I was like, oh, well, they keep hitting the window because they don't know what glass is. And that's why when we have to like guide them out with paper because they don't know how to get their own way out and they're looking for like their pollen, they're looking for flowers, they're looking for they won't sting you unless we're near their hive and they feel threatened. And I think for kids learning a lot about that is great as well. And kind of piecing together, like kids can be great for picking up information about animals. Like I've had them come in to me and tell me all these interesting things about fish and I'm like,
the facts that they have, it's just like boom, boom, boom.
Little sponges.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's great. Like I think having nature in the school somewhere.
Yeah, in the class, in the school,
be
outside.
It a garden, a bug hotel. If you have a pond, when I was in primary school, we had a little pond with goldfish in it. And we'd always be begging to go see the fish, even though they'd just be doing the same thing they did every day.
Yeah, going back and forth.
Whoa, look at them swimming. Big excitement one day in junior infants when one of them spotted a frog.
Oh, that's very exciting.
And a very exciting day.
My son's preschool have tadpoles in the classroom and they also have caterpillars. So they're doing a butterfly release on Friday morning and then like a little picnic for everybody. So apparently it's really magical. Sometimes if they've been in the right amount of time, they'll come out and they'll like fly around and maybe land on the kids. But if they've been in too long, apparently they're just like, lick it. They're like, I'm out of here. Yeah. So they've been learning all about froglets and tadpoles and frog spawn and then all about the butterflies.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's deadly.
Oh, and I think as well, if you have nature near you, near your school, like what an amazing resource.
Yeah.
Get them out for a wee nature walk.
Yeah.
And, get them near. I know the school I taught in was quite near like a little stream. So they're like, right, let's go down and see what we can see.
Yeah.
And even if there was no animals there, be like, okay, well, what kind of plants and
flowers
do we see?
Yeah,
Did we see them last week? No.
And there's so much education in that, taking a break from the class, going outside, taking a walk. It could be 10 minutes. Now I know like you could be 10 minutes getting them in the line, getting them out the door, and you might only be there for 5 minutes to get back again, but it is worth it just for the break and for yourself 100%. As well as a teacher. Get outside and get that fresh air into you, especially now the weather's getting a bit nicer and brighter.
It's so lovely and gorgeous at the moment.
It's changing everybody's state of mind.
Yeah, I think everyone's just a bit more happy and positive.
Yeah. I think on that note, we've probably said everything we need to say on our Earth Day, have we?
Yeah.
Anything else to wrap up?
Like I think the main message is that, we all know what we need to do to help the planet. But I think with everything that's going on, with all of the negativity that's kind of surrounding children's lives these days, I think this would be a really good chance to put the power back in their hands ask them what they think the solutions are, and foster a love, appreciation, or even just an interest in the world around them, and like the natural world around them. And I think taking that message of our planet, our power, it can be a nice kind of positive spin.
Great.
To give.
Yeah, and also fun. Playing.
Yeah.
Playing, doing your art lessons, doing your drama, your music, all those lessons are fun, you know, creating a nice atmosphere around it as well, and a positive experience.
Get sketching outside even if you can.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Get them sketching the world around them.
Yeah, getting leaves, colouring on top of them, colouring on the ground, seeing what it's like, you know, putting the page on the ground, seeing what it feels like, the different textures. I mean, another step further would be take off their shoes and put their feet in the grass, but like, you know, that's just my hippie vibe coming out. But it's obviously a lot more tricky for all of the teachers getting all those socks back on.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. God. Trauma.
Even the shoes coming off is like, no.
Yeah. I know.
Let's make sure everyone has their own shoes coming back to the classroom.
So I suppose, again, just what can you do in your own classroom is the most important thing. All the little things will definitely help. So that's probably a wrap on that podcast, on that little topic.
Yeah.
We often do what's new at dabbledoo. Myself and Sophia went to see the Teachers Musical Society last week.
Brilliant.
Their show, Jesus Christ Superstar, and it was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, amazing.
Like, it was just from start to finish. I was literally like, oh my God. And like, I was a massive musical theatre kid when I was younger. We had one tape and it had like musical hits on it, and about 3 songs from Jesus Christ Superstar was on it. And my sister used to make us do all these gymnastics routines to all these songs. So once the musical started, I was like, I know all of these songs. Like, literally knew the words to nearly everything. But it was just watching them on stage was just like, that's what team spirit, community spirit, the arts, it was just magical. And
Fab.
The majority of them are teachers, like taking the time out of their lives, their personal lives, to commit to something. It was just so beautiful to see it. And they were having the best time of their lives on the stage. And the talent, like, hands down, like, it was unbelievable. Like, if you'd just told me I was in the Bord Gáis Theatre, if you told me I was in the Olympia watching a show, it was just incredible. Like, it was so amazing. So fair play to the Teachers Musical Society.
Yeah,
it was
well
brilliant.
done, guys. Wow.
Yeah, it was. We were blown away. And we had an ad in the programme. Marcella made a really cool ad of our jazz cat.
I've seen it.
So I meant to bring in the programme today, but I forgot it. Yeah, but it was looking great. So yeah,
Jazz cat, JC.
Yeah,
it's very good.
It was brilliant. And there was a fire alarm that went off in the middle of the interval, and we were all like, you know, pure like Irish, what's it? Ah, come on. And everybody continued talking. And then we were like, do we have to leave? Or is this a real thing? And then one of the ushers was like, actually, yeah, we have to get out. So everyone went out of the theatre, and we're all standing around being like, are we all going to go back into the same seats? Or are we all going to try and go up further? And then anyway, like, you know, 2 or 3 minutes later, we're all back in, and there was nothing said about it. So everything must have been fine.
Show must go on.
The show must go on. I'd say it was one of the smoke machines or something. They didn't turn off an alarm or something, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. Definitely going to go see whatever they put on next year, because it was such a treat. Yeah, such a treat.
Amazing.
Yep, so that's it for us for now. Happy Earth Day to people.
Happy Earth
to all
Day.
who celebrate. And we'll be back for the next podcast real soon.
Very soon.
Thank you so
See ya.
much. Bye.